Now then, it's time for perspective on the programme. And if you're a fan of Angela Merkel, well, you can happily bill it as a smooth transition. Merkel stepping down as leader of her ruling Christian Democrat Union to be replaced by her chosen candidate. If you're not a fan of Angela Merkel, well, she stepped down, but the replacement voted in is just a mini Merkel, meaning perhaps more of the same. Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, or AKK as she's known, taking the reins after a vote late on Friday. But what does her appointment mean for the future of Germany and indeed for the future of Europe, as both Merkel and, of course, Emmanuel Macron have both been facing their difficulties of late? Well, with me on the programme to discuss all that is General Secretary of the Study Committee for Franco-German Relations at the French Institute of International Relations. He's also a professor at the Sorbonne University here in Paris. Hans Stark, thanks very much for coming in and talking to us today. So AKK, just another Angela Merkel. Do you see it like that?
No, maybe a little bit, but she tries to be different. She has, well, she's pro-European and very center-oriented, as was Angela Merkel up to now. She will have certainly a more social stand. This is important, and during her campaign for becoming chairman of the Christian Democrat Party, she clearly pointed out that the social issues will be her most important ones. This is something that that Angela Merkel never talked about. Second, Merkel, from a religious point of view, she's very pragmatic, Protestant, by the way, and very not so typical for this Christian Democratic Party, which has a strong religious grassroots basis. And Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, she clearly said that she would take care for Catholic population in Germany and also for ethics, for typically ethics like the marriage for everybody, these things, where she has a more conservative stand from this point of view.
So you think that if she makes it to Chancellor, because that's not certain, we'll talk about that in a moment, but if she were to make it to Chancellor, that there could be some changes there?
Yeah, minor changes. I do believe that, first of all, which is important, I'm sorry to say it, it's a woman. It's a woman that replaces another woman. This is something which is extraordinarily important for this country. We will not have this generation of, sorry to say it because I'm part of it, white, old, angry men, you know, that Mr. Merz, her rival, was representing. It's not this kind of generation that comes back to the Christian Party in the power position, but it's a woman, and I think that she will lead a policy that will be more oriented in European affairs. She will be closer to France. She was a prime minister, minister-president of the Saarland, and the Saarland is close geographically to the Lorraine in France, to France itself, and she speaks French, and she was deeply integrated in Franco-German relations before. So for Europe, it's a good news.
Yeah. OK. And what about her prospects as a whole? Because, I mean, she kind of just about squeezed it to win that vote on Friday, so just about winning the job that she was trying for here. And now, of course, she's got to go that extra yard because Angela Merkel will step down as Chancellor in a couple of years' time, and she's got to actually win that election as well.
She has to. And the question is, what would be the good strategy for her to win the elections in 2021? To keep in place where she is now for the 3 years to come, or to succeed to Angela Merkel before the election terms in 2021? That's the big question. And some think that Merkel should leave smoothly. You know, after 2019 and 2019, we will have 4 difficult elections during this period, European ones, and 3 elections in Eastern Germany. And the one who could be taken for responsible if there would be a bad result could be the Chancellor, Angela Merkel, and not Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. Once these elections behind us, she could take over and lead the country as a chancellor in order to be the chancellor in place during the election campaign of 2021. This is something that has to be decided between the 2 women. They know each other very well. You told us she was the candidate of Angela Merkel, so I do believe that this transition will be more or less harmonious.
Does seem to make a bit more sense, doesn't it? And what about those snapping at her heels? I mean, who is she? Who are those rivals in other parties who are really going to be challenging for the Chancellor's job?
Well, I think for the Chancellor's job, nobody. The CDU will remain the leading party with at least 15 points beyond the others. But we have three other strong parties that are now around 20%. The Greens, with Mr. Habeck, who is, I think, a real challenger, but he has not enough voice to become a chancellor. The AfD, but I do hope and I do believe that there is a limit beyond that it cannot go. You know, I think that in the opinion polls around 18% right now, which seems for me the upper limit. Except that we have a huge economic crisis, which I don't foresee in the next 2 or 3 years. And then we have, of course, the Social Democrats. They should do up to 20%, even if in the opinion polls they have been fallen down, farther down. But now we have three parties, and of course, the Liberals. And the challenge of Kramp-Karrenbauer will be to form a government with 2 or 3 of these 4 parties. The AfD, it's impossible to have a coalition with them, and the CDU will never accept it. And Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, given the fact that she's centrist, neither.
Just want to talk about Europe as well. You mentioned Europe earlier on. I mean, a year and a half ago, it seemed like Europe was rock solid. You've got Angela Merkel there, who was still doing quite well at that point. Emmanuel Macron obviously was coming in. Yeah. I mean, where does Europe stand now?
In the middle of a timing of a tragedy and chaos in a certain way. We have Italy in the situation that you know. We have Great Britain with a hard Brexit, no Brexit, soft Brexit, or whatsoever. We don't know. We have Germany, where the Christian Democratic Party still is the remaining hard bloc inside the political country, political scene, but where it is difficult to find a coalition to govern the country. France is in troubles, in huge troubles. So for the next years, Europe is in a bad shape.
Okay. Well, we shall see how things roll out. It's changed so much in the last year and a half already, hasn't it? Hans Stark, thanks very much for being with us on the programme today.